here from leolistening.com, where I help advanced English speakers break free from subtitles so they can fall back in love with their favourite films and series. So, continuing the theme of personal development for the month of March, I realised that no discussion of personal development is complete without some mention at some point of TED Talks. And in fact, TED Talks have come up over the last couple of weeks as I knew they would. So last year I did a podcast about why you shouldn't listen to TED Talks, and it became my most listened to podcast episode ever. So I want to start by reiterating one of the principal points from that podcast, and that is what you listen to is not as important as what you do with it. What I mean by that is that what you listen to is not the key. No resource, I repeat, no resource will magically make you better at English or improve your listening. Now, some resources can make you feel better or worse. So when you listen to slow audio for learners, you feel really good because you understand everything. Then if you listen to a mumbly film or a bunch of native speakers talking fast, obviously you feel bad about yourself because you don't understand much. But ultimately, what you do with what you listen to is the most important thing. So you know that just listening is not enough. Well, I hope you do. That's the whole point of this blog. This is why I show up every week, to remind you of the fact that just listening is not enough. So if you watch TED Talks and just listen, then yes, you'll get something out of them. Yes, you'll make some progress, but not as fast as when you do some specific activities that will actually improve your listening. So, I mean, one of the advantages of TED Talks and any other type of academic listening is that they tend to be a bit slower and easier to understand than, say, films or native speakers chatting. They're monologues, so you only have to worry about one person speaking. It's not an interaction. There are sometimes slides to help you understand. You've got the person's hand gestures as well. They're delivering more slowly because it's a speech. Now, listening to TED Talks then is great if you want to and you need to understand conferences or presentations at work, but they're not so great if you want to understand, real people just talking or films or TV. Right. So that's why my first tip for making your TED Talks a bit more challenging, spicing them up, is speed up the talk. So what's a bit annoying about TED Talks is that often they're 15 to 20 minutes long. So sometimes what I do is I just read the transcript to get to the juicy information. Or another thing I do if I really want to listen to the speaker is I put the talk on and I put the speed at 1.5 speed. So that means that the person is speaking 1.5 times quicker and I can get through the talk more quickly. And you can adjust the speed by clicking on the little wheel thing under the video. I'll add a screenshot so you can see what I mean. Now, you could also put the videos on double speed, but I find that double speed is too quick. But hey, if you want a challenge, then why not go for it? All right, second tip to add some spice to your TED Talks is to listen to the TED podcast on NPR. So NPR is National Public Radio, I think, in the US. And there's a show called the TED Radio Hour. So this should be a little bit more challenging than just your standard TED Talk, as it's an interview style podcast with the speaker from the talk and also with extracts from the talk. So you can, for each episode, there's also a transcript of the episode, so you can read along with it, or you can choose sections for dictation, and then you can write them out and check with the transcript. And I've got a detailed guide on how to make the most of transcripts in a blog post called The Feel Good Guide to Texts and Transcripts, so check that out for some more tips. And I'm also going to link to an example of a TED Radio Hour interview that I listened to with a guy called Christopher McDougall. So you can try out those tips. And then my final idea for making your TED Talks a bit trickier is using the playlist of 3-minute TED Talks. So as I said, most talks are kind of in the 15 to 20 minute range, but TED have put together lists of shorter talks, and the shortest ones are 3 minutes. So what's good about the shorter talks is you can kind of transcribe a decent section of them without getting like too overwhelmed. And what's really great about them is that they're short enough that you can put them into an amazing tool called TubeQuizard and create some listening quizzes based on tricky to catch features of English like contractions, articles, two-word chunks. So that's combinations like and then, for instance. So if you're going to do that, the thing with TubeQuizard is you must use a subtitled YouTube video. So what you would need to do is to go onto the TED YouTube channel, and I'll give you the link to that, and then you find your video in there and you copy and paste into TubeQuizard. And I'm also going to give you the link to the list of 3-minute talks on the TED website. And I've already created some quizzes in TubeQuizard with Matt Kutz's 3-minute talk on trying something new for 30 days. So you can go in and play around with the different listening quizzes from that talk. And just one final point before we finish off. So a lot of people love TED Talks and think they're amazing because of the interactive transcript. But if you know where to look, you can find an interactive transcript underneath a subtitled YouTube video. So I made a post and a video about that a couple of years ago that I'm going to link to, because you can find videos on all kinds of topics with interactive transcripts as long as they have accurate subtitles. Well, you can look at the interactive transcript with the automatic subtitles, but the English is full of errors, so there's kind of no point. So I'll link to that information too, because it's not only TED Talks that have interactive transcripts. So I hope you will try out those tips and make your TED Talks a little bit more challenging for your ears. Okay, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.